What's up everyone and welcome back to a mod overview on Witchery. So last few times we were checking out all the ways to progress through Witchery and pretty much just how to do Witchery. And I decided that since Witchery is such a large mod, it's going to be way more beneficial for me and for everyone to learn Witchery by going through how it works like I just did with the other two videos, and then break it down into sections and talk about each section at a time. So in this part of the overview, we're going to talk about Poppets. So Poppets are these little guys that are part of Witchery. They're pretty much a handheld item that can provide your player an effect based on a scenario that would happen. So it's like a contingency. So in order to get a Poppet, first of all, you have to first create the not bound Poppet. So this is your base that you're going to need to get. It's just some wool. It's a little bit of strings, the smash moss, which we looked at how to get in the progression video, and then a bow needle, once again pretty easy to make. So that's how you get your base version of the Poppet. From there, there's lots of different versions of the Poppet that you can get. There's the protection style Poppets, and then there's the dark magic Poppets. So we're going to look into pretty much what all these do and how they work. So let's get straight into it. So starting with the protection style Poppets, there's quite a few of them, as you can see. There's a couple more down here. The first one is the earth protection Poppet, made pretty easily. Yep. Some feathers, clay, dirt, pretty easy to work with. But in order to use this Poppet, we first have to bind it. So talked about in the other video, but just gonna reiterate it. In order to get a tag lock, you need a tag lock kit. This is how you bind Poppets to a certain player. Glass bottle and bow needle, not difficult to make. And to get your own tag lock, you shift right click your own bed. And boom, see I got another Outface tag lock. Then to combine it with your Poppet, all you gotta do is combine it in a crafting table, and boom, now bound to Outface. So that's perfect. Now what we can do is use it. So the contingency on this Poppet is it prevents you from taking fall damage that would probably kill you. So in order to demonstrate this, let's just fly up. That's probably high enough. And then if I get rid of my wings, boom, you'll hear the ding. Poppet got destroyed. I did not die from the fall. Perfect. So that is how that Poppet works. It just protects you from fall damage, so it's nice to have on you in case you were to happen to fall off a cliff and you don't have wings. So that's that one. The next is the water protection Poppet. So let's bind this up to me. And this one works pretty simple. Prevents you from drowning. So if I just fall down in here and just give this a moment, you'll see that not only will it, a lot of these are not only going to prevent what would happen, but it's also going to give you sort of a little boost. So you'll see here in just a moment. So boom, start dying. Just give it a moment. Slowly drowning down here. And keep in mind, you can bind these to other players. Hey, look at that. Okay, so it used the Poppet, gave you a little bit of air, and gave you some health back. So the contingency was that you would die from drowning, but then it gives you extra health. So it keeps you alive. So like I was saying, you can bind these to other players, and then you can have them, but as far as the protection, it isn't going to do much for them if it's not in their inventory. So keep that in mind. Alright, so the next one, conversely to the water Poppet, is the fire protection Poppet. So this one's pretty easy. Pretty straightforward. Will prevent you from dying in lava. Except not much health. I'm trying to do this without completely dying. Hey, there it is. Look at that. Gave you half my health back and prevented me from dying from the lava. Fantastic. Oh, you can see there are some witch hunters around here. This is what happens whenever you mess around with Poppets a lot, especially the dark magic ones. You'll start to get witch hunters that come after you because they don't like witches. So just get rid of these guys real fast. Glad that they came because this is a good demonstration. Okay, they're dead. So keep in mind they will show up every once in a while. They're a little bit annoying with their crossbows. They do drop some crossbow bolts. Got a few arrows in me. Alrighty, so yeah, so I got some crossbow bolts, wooden bolts. Alright, so the next one is the hunger protection Poppet. This one will prevent you from dying from hunger, I believe. So if I do this, no. I don't know if there's a really good way to demonstrate this, because I would have to wait for my hunger to go down, which is going to be a pain. But if your hunger would go down, you would take, you know, the fatal damage from it. It would give you your health back, similar to all the other ones. So I'm not really gonna do that. But the next one's pretty cool. The Tool Protection Puppet. Let's bind it first of all. So the Tool Protection Puppet will protect your tools. So if I can find a thing to mine, boom. See, I want to break the stone. Pickaxe was about to break, and all of a sudden I get a brand new pickaxe. So if you have high tier tools, such as like a diamond pickaxe, and you don't want it to break, you have one of those on you, and you'll get a brand new pickaxe whenever, you know, it would break. So pretty convenient. Next one is very similar. It is the Armor Protection Puppet. So find that one, and you'll see that these have one durability, so they're about to, you know, go. Let's head up here a little bit and take a little bit of fall damage. Hope this does what I want it to do. Boom. Look at that. Brand new iron leggings, and it used up my poppet. Nice. So, very similar to the tool, it just does it with armor instead. So like I said, if you have a good set of armor and you want to keep it, make sure you have one of those. I believe it's one poppet per piece of armor though, so keep that in mind. If all your armor is about to break, you're going to need 4 of them. Alright, so the next one is a very strong poppet. It's just the general death protection poppet. And once again, all these recipes are just, you can look them up here. They're not too difficult, it's just the poppet surrounded by a few different things. Ember Wool the Bat, Arthana killing bats, and Ember Moss for Mutandis you get. Yeah, Death Protection Puppet's a little bit harder to get. It takes some Diamond Vapor and a Drop of Luck. Drop of Luck is pretty annoying to make, which you probably saw in the other video. So, Death Protection Puppet, you know, pretty straightforward, will prevent you from death. So, let's spawn a zombie here. Let him attack me a little bit. Take him just a second. Right, so I'm about to die. Boom. Uses up the poppet. Get half my health back. There we go. So, very strong poppet to use. Will just prevent you from all forms of death and give you a little bit of health back. Alrighty, so then these two here are the poppets that help prevent against dark magic within Witchery. So these are still technically protection ones. The Voodoo Protection is going to protect you from Voodoo, which we're going to check out in a second. And the Poppet Protection Puppet prevents you from taking the effect of a certain curse that can be performed. I believe it's the curse of... I'll find the name of it real quick. Maybe. The Curse of Corrupt Puppet, that's what it's called. And what it does is... if you cast it on a player, like you use their Tallock in the right, it will destroy up to 10 Voodoo Protection Puppets on that player. So they have a whole bunch of Voodoo Protection because they don't like being voodooed. You cast that curse on them, it would destroy all of them. However, if they have the Poppet Protection Puppet, it would take damage and prevent the curse from happening, and also give a little bit of feedback to the player in the form of a little bit of lightning bolt. So that's that one. Voodoo Protection, similar. I showed it in the other portion of the overview. Protects against Voodoo. We'll demonstrate Voodoo again real quickly. So for Voodoo, you don't want to bind it to yourself. You want to bind it to any kind of entity or, you know, another player or so. Depends on how devious you are. So if I bind this to a cow, and I hold right click, and I let go, unfortunately he's in a bad spot. Let's move him real fast. So if I do that, boom, you see he gets thrown around a little bit. If you spin, do it, you know, you can throw him in certain directions. You'll see that the pop will take a little bit of durability as you do it. So that's one thing you can do. You can just move him around a little bit. That's just by holding right click and letting go. A few other things you can do is if you have bone needles in your inventory and you shift right click with the poppet, it'll stab a bone needle, you know, into the Voodoo Puppet and do a little bit of damage to whoever it's bound to. But it does take a little bit more durability. A couple other things you can do is you can drown yourself. So as you drown, the damage will then be sent to the bound player. And also, if you jump into lava, the damage will be sent to the bound player. So, a few options on how to voodoo your friends and, cows. So, keep that in mind. Then the Voodoo Protection would protect against it. So, if the cow had this Voodoo Puppet bound to bound to him, then I'd get a little bit of a lightning bolt back. So I'm actually going to bind this to myself. I showed this off before, but I'll do it again. So if I were to try and voodoo myself with a voodoo protection puppet, you'll see, boom, struck by lightning. So it doesn't let me voodoo, and it just hurts me a little bit. So voodoo protection is really good, which is why that curse is a thing, to get rid of someone's voodoo protection. The next one is really cool. It's the Vampiric Puppet. So what you do with this one is you have to bind it to two different entities. So you place in the inventory, and I believe the first one you put in is the damage. You'll see whenever you put it in. So like it's cow to me. So you don't want that. You want it to be the other way around. Outphase to cow. So damage that goes to outphase then goes to the cow. Boom. So if I do that, now if I were to voodoo myself again. I don't remember what cow it was. Is it you? Which cow was it? Let's get another one. I don't remember which one it was. It's boom. Okay. Heal so I don't die. Doesn't want to give me damage for that one. Anyways, if I get hit by a zombie, you'll see that the cow's taking damage. So some of my damage that the zombie's doing to me got sent to the cow, and I killed the cow. So it's a pretty cool puppet. It's able to just transfer some of the damage, so it makes you prevent damage and makes somebody else take damage. So pretty cool. And then you'll see that it's no longer bound to the person or to the entity that it gets the damage transferred to because it died. So keep that in mind. You will have to rebind it if the entity you were using it on does die. Yeah. Alright, so the next couple things. So there are a few additional notes to make about puppets. There is the puppet shelf, which I mentioned before. Let me show you the crafting recipe for it. It's not incredibly difficult. You just need some of those attuned stones, some nether brick, and some green wool. Attuned stones I looked at before. Now we'll make you the puppet shelf. The puppet shelf, you can have infinite of them, and it pretty much allows you to extend your inventory. So if I were to throw like a death protection puppet in here, bind it to myself, throw it into the shelf, see it renders there, and then if I were to take fatal damage, such as some zombies attacking me, come on zombies, you have one job. You'll see over there, see the puppet? And come on, there we go. Boom, puppet's no longer there, and I did not die, and I got a little bit of health back. So extend your inventory so as if you had that puppet on you and I took the fatal damage like I just did, then the puppet will take effect and be consumed. Keep in mind this is an inventory with a it's a tile entity with an inventory, so you can insert into it. So if you wanted to make a whole bunch of them and just like hopper them in, it will continue to keep the puppet shelf full. So if you really don't want to die and you want to make all the death protection, you can do that. Nice. And then if, say, you're really trying to voodoo somebody, you know they have a puppet shelf, but you don't know where it's at, you can make yourself a puppet shelf compass. And what this is, it's like a hot and cold meter. So you can see that the dots, they're going away as I move away from it. As I get closer to the puppet shelf, you'll see they start to come on. And as I'm right next to it, boom. So it's hot and cold meter to find a puppet shelf in the world. Yeah, so very many applications for PvP oriented use with a lot of trolling. So, but that mostly covers it for puppets. They're an interesting little mechanic to Witchery. So lots of things you can do with them. I should note that there is witch hunter's gear that you can craft, using some of this stuff. Not too difficult to get. Oh, a little bit difficult, but it does disable your ability to use puppets. It cannot use puppets there. So keep that in mind if you have this armor on, you're not going to be able to use puppets. But that's pretty much it. There's the downside with the witch hunters, which you saw. But I think that pretty much covers it for puppets. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hope this video was helpful. And be sure to stay tuned for more episodes on Witchery and probably some other ones. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. See you.